Well, hey there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hi from my little corner of the world. I hope everyone's enjoying their little corner of the world as we celebrate the Christmas season. This is normally a night that I would be starting a poetry open mic at the Gallery Cabaret, Cafe Gallery. And I wasn't able to make it to Austin area shows because I was in another show that took 4.5 hours. It took half my work day, and other ones were at my dinner hour, and I'm like, I can't do it. So I thought I would at least pay some homage to the open mic space where I ran, and would have to start right at 7 o'clock because I only had 2 hours. I didn't have 4 hours. Like the last open mic I was just at 4.5. I'm like, I can't do it. And I had to get out, and so I figured I would start on time, and when people wouldn't show up right away, I would start by reading things from recently released books from Scarce Publications. And yes, I've got poetry related to the holiday season right here, right now, from the Scarce Publications book, Every Event of the Year, Volume 2, July through December. And I've got holiday stuff that's relating to the 23rd through the 25th that I'd like to be able to share with you guys. And it seemed an appropriate thing to do right now before we get on with the rest of our holiday weekend, you guys. This first one I was going to share with you is actually it's a piece called Key to a Storyline, and it's from National Short Story Day, and that is the 21st. 21st of December for National Storytelling Day. And I've got a piece in here that is much of a story in its own right, and it's called Key to a Storyline. When a young woman, a researcher, a logical woman, was a scientist in Seattle, she led her research group in a pharmaceutical company for more successes in the AIDS drugs for the world. And despite her successes, she learned how she still had to jump through both corporate and religious hoops to successfully accomplish her work. Then, out of the blue, a male friend from college, a man now living in New York with money and connections as a well-known publishing company, he came to her town on a business trip. They rekindled their friendship, and they suddenly realized that although they were different, at the core they were really the same. And they finally found themselves in love. So, as she worked and discovered from colleagues around the country that the government was stopping their progress with AIDS research, her love, the man she fell for, was attacked in a darkened corner of Central Park one night, and in the progress was injected with a needle, and he quickly developed AIDS. This was her work, and this seemed like far too deliberate of an effort to stop her from succeeding. But she refused to sit back like a helpless maiden while everything falls apart. So she made connections, and who knows, she may have talked to too many conspiracy theorists, but when one of them told her of AIDS being a government plan to eradicate some segregations of some segments of society, they actually gave her contact locations of where they kept this ultimate cure. Now, this woman was a researcher, a scientist, but she couldn't let this injustice from the government continue. So she worked out, and she bought a gun. She practiced and quickly came up with a plan. She took time off work, something she never did, and she collected her cash to make her way across the country with no paper trail, and avoided attacks on her life until she was able to find a small sample of the cure. She found only enough to save her love, and without proof of where this sample came from, her hands seemed tied behind her back, and after all of her work, she didn't know how to bring the government and their government's wrongdoings to light. After risking her life, the only thing she could do was save her love, but she kept the original vial and planned to extract just enough of this miracle to help her move forward with a vaccine, because if she couldn't show the world who the real enemy was, she could at least do her damnedest to help this countless others who would otherwise be killed from a cruel and heartless government. And no, this short story might not have a happy ending, not the happiest of endings, but sometimes happy endings aren't the way it is. The plot still had twists and turns, philosophical conflict, and of course, a love story. And it proves that even when there seems to be no hope in sight, it is possible to find a way to make things work in the end, which is actually exactly the way life should be. There was your storytelling poem for National Storytelling Day on the 21st of December, you guys. And it's fascinating to look for different things from different events that relate to different days, because you jump from one topic to the next, nothing in common whatsoever, because the next one I was going to show you or share with you was on the 22nd of December. It was the actual technical scheduled shooting date in 1842 of Dostoyevsky. And he was supposed to be shot on that day in 1842 on the 22nd of December. And because of that, I've got this poem for you. And I hope it's cool. This is called Overturn the Futility. I told him that I really liked reading the writing of Dostoyevsky. I know, his writing doesn't match my logical, rational views, but he was an author I loved to read. I was drawn to the futility that his protagonist endured, and I couldn't help but connect. He then said that was tough reading, difficult, too complex, but I never thought that. I just like the messages, however fatalistic, that maybe ultimately seemed, that, and however bad those fights may have ultimately seemed. He then said that he thinks that a lot of goth people like reading his writing, and I can't speak to that. I can only say it speaks to something we all feel and cannot put to words, which is something everyone feels. But it's something that we always have to hold in and are told not to think about it, though those bad feelings are there, even though those bad feelings are wrong, and that's it. We just have to stifle it away and bury it within, because that's what we do to make it look like we understand it all and are ahead of everyone else. But reading Dostoevsky allowed yourself to immerse yourself in all of the unthinkable, if only for a brief moment, before you had to shake yourself of all the bad that stayed in hiding, surrounding your soul nonetheless. I recently heard that Dostoevsky was arrested in protests. They planned to shoot him for his crimes. I don't know what his crimes were, other than believing in things that are against the Czar's beliefs. They planned to shoot him. And on this day, he was to be shot. On the day he was to be shot, at the last minute, they decided to overturn the ruling and ship him to Siberia for 4 years instead. And, of course, this time was beyond unbearable, living with others like sardines, unable to move, freezing, thinking this was beyond his limits. We talk now of how we have it tough, how life doesn't seem fair, and now that we claim to be in a rational world, we look for reason in choices made. We feel anger when we think that things don't go our way. And really, when we look at what it could be, when we look at the futility of how life could really be, even the most goth amongst us have to read how life could actually be. That's an end of a poem about the life of Dostoyevsky, and how on this day, in the 22nd of December in 1849, he was supposed to be killed for protests against the Czar, and at the last minute they decided to put him in a camp to Siberia for 4 years instead. crazy. Oh my god, I'm sorry. It's just crazy with the things that I find out to read for you guys. I should wave and say hello to people that are watching live. I'm reading a couple poems from the poetry book Every Event of the Year, volume 2, July through December, and I thought I would try something for the 23rd of December. Yeah, I'm going to end with, weird Christmas poems for you guys, but the 23rd of December was the day that a Maya queen was actually crowned as a ruler in 583 AD. And so I wrote this thing about this, and the poem is called Vaulted to Silhouette the Sky. I gave birth to the greatest leaders of our time. I was also the first female ruler in Mayan history, and that was only one of the very few female rulers known from Maya. But I was born with a royal title, but I'm sure you haven't heard of me or what I've done, because really, why would you think a woman could do anything or amount to anything or rule anything, even if a woman earned it? Tombs vaulted to me adorn the silhouette of the sky. I'll be sculpted in the vaults off of my offspring. More leaders you'll forget. Because how could you? Why would you even remember something you were never even taught? Here now, patriarchy shuns women being in any power, so you'll brush me under the proverbial rug. Just know that despite your efforts, women can be in power, despite your efforts to be otherwise. Because when we come, we rule in a way that you never expected. Because you never learned. Because they didn't teach you. Or you chose to not listen. Okay, there's a poem in here for Christmas Eve, but I've read this for other open mics earlier this week, so I'm going to read 2 poems that are related to Christmas Day. I think I'm going to start with a poem written on the 24th of December, and it was on the day that James Cook, a British guy, I believe, discovered Kiritimati, aka Christmas Island, and that was in 1777, and that was on Christmas Eve. So this is a poem about that for you guys, and it's called Usual Conquest Style. There are many stories, rumors even, about where Christmas came from. Whether it sprouts from lore or myth will continue to confound cultures. Information even circulates about Christmas Island, where it is and what of its meaning, because the meaning to where this world actually continues to confuse, because today, on Christmas Eve, British explorer James Cook discovered Christmas Island. Now, this is the Polynesian island. It is possibly once a stepping stone for ships trading across the Pacific in the early 1800s, until trading died down and this raised coral atoll was abandoned, even though the Republic of Kiritimati, a nation of the Pacific Ocean, called this island a respelling of the Latin script for Christmas. Per our usual conquest style, both Britain and the Americans claimed this island, although we didn't do much with it. That is, until we realized that it was a good point for munitions discovered by World War I, and especially in World War II, where it was but the real payload for Western countries came in 1957, when British and the United States could both test nuclear warfare. Because the first thing you think of when you think of an island named for something we're supposed to care about, something about giving and loving one another, is to use it for this little island to plot out our own final solution to the human problem. Oh, so this twice abandoned Christmas Island was eventually almost decimated. Thanks to Western expansion. And although the population is growing again, it is still only less than 10,000, despite its now protected status, all while suffering along the equator in a surprisingly dry zone, making fresh water a rarity unless during a season, which is probably not what you pictured for Christmas Island. But then again, it doesn't matter the season or the holiday when it comes to Western civilization's penchant for destruction and annihilation. Those feelings don't need a season, for it seems some will always find a reason. Yeah, you can take Christmas on Christmas Eve, Christmas Island, and use it for conquest. You know, we try to have nice trees. I've got my Christmas jewelry, my crazy hat on. And then we've got these crazy stories because I have one for you on Christmas Day. All right, another one. You thought, wait, a Christmas Island? There's actually two. And discovered on Christmas Day, I don't know what year, 1643, Christmas Island was actually discovered, a different one, in the Indian Ocean on Christmas Day. And this is another poem that was written on Christmas Day for this, and it's called Exploit the Island. I remembered this Depeche Mode song. It was an instrumental, and it's titled Christmas Island. And unlike mellow or somber tunes, it belted out a loud processional music with a strong beat that was almost like an instrumental call to action. And this song wasn't on their albums. It's only a tune for the diehard fans back in the day that they would know anything about or even care about. But the Christmas Island song, there's a song that's in my head right now, is actually one sung by Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters. Sure, the Andrews Sisters didn't originally sing it with them, but I know Bing's crooning with Christmas songs, where this little ditty sings of spending Christmas across the sea, coconuts on the trees, and presents coming over on canoes. And sure, Bing may have released this song in the 50s, well after the original, but looking back, it confuses me that the only Christmas Island I knew anything of off the top of my head was one of a tiny place in the Pacific that was deserted twice and then used as munitions testing site. So really, it doesn't seem like a true vacation retreat. But the thing is, the Christmas Island I knew of was discovered on Christmas Eve by the British, which kind of means, it seems kind of weird. It's a weird reason I actually call it Christmas Island. And then I discovered that there was another Christmas Island discovered on Christmas Day by a European in 1643. So maybe this tropical resort Bing actually crooned about might have been this island. Now, the Christmas Island discovered on Christmas Eve by Britain is a small island in the Pacific Ocean, while the Christmas Island discovered on Christmas Day by Europeans is a small island in the Indian Ocean. But after that, they start to sound similar. Both islands are populated by only a few thousand people, and both were exploited for annexation until countries came to exploit the island for their military. And for this island, the first time it came up was from the Japanese in World War II. This tiny island may become a harbor for refugees later, which has very few beaches, and so this little climate change in this absolute southern edge of the equatorial region. So in some ways, this Christmas Island was a beautiful place for people who needed to escape an unjust war, with the rainforests and animals different from the ones you could find on the Galapagos Islands along the equator, but their only real resource was phosphate mining, which was extracted from guano, which is the accumulation of excrement of seabirds and bats. And you said that nature didn't actually work so well with mankind. So, no, this Christmas, Malaysian Australian island, now under Australia's rule, which doesn't please the locals, may not be the Bing Crosby vacation getaway. But during war, Christmas Island was a paradise for those who were truly in need. All right, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I've got two more that were written for Christmas. It was a short one written on Christmas Day. I love the effect of this one. It's not what you think, but for Christmas Day, this is a short poem that's called Lost Cross. After you died, someone not closer to you than me gave me your cross. I kept it buried away because bringing it too close to me would be blasphemous. One day, out of the blue, I held it and I dropped it, and suddenly it vanished. I searched frantically for that cross, but just in an instant, it was forever lost. You died years ago, lifetimes ago, but it still stuns me now that your cross is lost. I won't tell you what that poem's really about, but it's so perfectly appropriate to share for a Christmas Day theme. Probably would have been possibly better at Easter. I have no idea, but it was here for that. I think I'm going to, I've got one long one, and I'm going to then stop reading for you guys. This is a really, really funny one. It's a long one. It's a perfect one for Christmas Day. And I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas this year. This is a poem that's called Dilemmas in Gift Giving. After a childhood of Christmases in the Chicago cold and snow, my construction company father started a retirement community in southwest Naples, Florida. After that, for every Christmas, me and my sister Sandy, who was 10 years older than me, would fly from O'Hare to Fort Myers to have 2 weeks of fun in the sun. So, in my teens, I got used to warm temperatures and carolers with no snow for the Yuletide season. And even though not all 5 of us kids would be there, I was still the youngest. So on Christmas Eve, when exchanging gifts, I was the one that was in charge of handing out the presents from under the tree for people to open. Now, I have to preface this all with the fact that I came from a prudish family. We were mild-mannered and moral people. I didn't even drink until I was away at college. I didn't even kiss a boy until I was 16. So on one Christmas Eve, I think I was 14, after the carolers had come and we all sat at the tree adorned with sand dollars and red ribbons, I started handing out presents for everyone to open. But at one point I handed a red box to my sister as a gift that my mother obviously bought. She opened the box to see a very adult set of a bra and panties. Now, my sister was 24, but this was a very forward gift from my mother. And as I looked at the tree, I must have had this panicked look on my face because my parents then asked me what the matter was. Well, at this point in time, I had never kissed a boy. I don't even know if I was wearing a training bra. So I said, well, I'm handing out these presents, and there's another box just like that one she opened for me, too. And then she told me just open it, and I had to do my best to not look mortified, but at least the teddy my mom got for me was very reserved. You know, as far as teddies go. A few years later, I think I was leaving for college the next fall, but at present time on Christmas Eve, I see a present addressed to both me and my sister. So we opened this gift, and I have no idea what it was called, but the box said, Epilady. Mom said it was something that you could use so that you wouldn't have to shave your legs. We opened it up. The tip of it looked like a twisted tiny metal coil, and Mom suggested we try it. So apparently, when it's plugged in, those coils vibrate and act like mass tweezers, because when I put this thing to my leg, I started yanking out hair en masse, and all my hair would then just come clean. Oh my God, but I initially screamed. And then, as I said, I don't drink, but I said, do they give a bottle of bourbon with these? Because you'd have to be drunk to numb the pain. And I didn't even question sharing this hair removal device with my sister, though, really, ew. Well, I was thinking I'm leaving for college soon anyway, so I said to my sister, you can keep this gift to yourself. Years later, after living on my own and getting used to those cold Chicago winters again, I was driving to my parents' Chicago home, and while stopped at an intersection, I was struck by two cars and almost killed. After I started to recover, that seemed to be a good occasion to get the kids together again for Christmas. And after all these years, we learned our lesson. We went to a photo studio and took pictures of us girls as a gift for our parents. Maybe it took the possibility of part of the family falling apart for us to remember what these presents are really for, because I didn't keep the teddy, and I'm sure that my sister didn't revere the S&M hair removal device, but those photos, I think they will last a lifetime. All right. I can't laugh too hard at that, I'm sorry. That's just such a goofy story. I think I read that poem once at an open mic here at Kick Butt Coffee, and a woman was screaming, laughing, Emily, oh my God, those things are so awful. So we weren't the only ones. But anywho, that was an installment of a couple of poems for you guys. I want to thank you guys. I'm sure there's enough time. Yes, enough time would have passed in my poetry open mic that people would be here and we'd be starting an open mic by now. So I would be closing it out right now, but I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and listening right now, hearing these really strange Christmas stories. Oh, the dilemmas of gift giving. And whomever you get to be with for Christmas time, I hope you all remain safe. And I want all of you to stay creatively inclined, stay safe, and as I say to all of us when we are stuck alone at times like this, if you are feeling alone and lost, remember that you are loved and that things will get better. They really will, I promise you. And thank you for being a part of connecting with people at these times when we are all stuck and alone. And I hope everyone has a very, very, very happy Christmas. Who knows, I might come next week on a Tuesday or a Wednesday to share with you some New Year's poems to finish off this book for you guys. But I hope you get everything you want for this holiday season and stay incredibly safe. And thank you all for listening. Thank you all so very much.